Every civilization believes it was built on greatness, on courage, innovation, faith. But beneath the marble temples, beneath the empires of stone and steel, lies a quieter foundation, a promise: debt. For 5,000 years, humanity has borrowed from its future to survive its present. Kings borrowed from merchants, nations borrowed from banks, and every coin spent carried an invisible chain, a link between power and obligation. Debt did not just fund civilization, it defined it. It taught us to measure time in payments, to trade freedom for stability, to build monuments out of promises. And yet, every empire that learned to borrow eventually learned to collapse. Because the more we borrow from tomorrow, the less of tomorrow remains.
In the age of kings, power was measured in crowns and armies, but real control was written in ledgers. While monarchs ruled from thrones, their empires ran on borrowed gold. When kings went to war, they turned not to their generals, but to their bankers. The House of Medici, the Fuggers of Germany, the Rothschilds to come, they did not command armies, yet they chose who could afford one. Every fortress built, every ship launched was financed by promises, not by treasure. Debt became the true scepter of power. A king could command loyalty with fear, but a banker could command kings with interest. From that moment, money stopped serving the crown. The crown began serving money.
The world changed the moment gold lost its weight and paper gained its power. In the beginning, paper was a promise, a claim on real wealth: gold, silver, labor, land. But promises are lighter than metal and much easier to multiply. By the 18th century, banks had discovered alchemy, the power to turn faith into currency. For every ounce of gold stored, they could lend 10 times in paper. And as long as the people believed, the system worked. Nations were built, wars were fought, railroads and empires rose, all from ink and signatures. Paper became the new empire, invisible yet absolute. The age of gold had ended. The age of belief had begun. Debt is not only numbers. It is a reflection of morality, a mirror of what we owe not just in money, but in meaning. Every generation borrows from the next, not only wealth, but water, forests, air, and time. We call it progress, but what if it's only consumption deferred? Empires do not collapse because they run out of gold. They collapsed because they run out of trust. The greatest debt of all is not financial, it is ethical. When a society forgets the cost of its comfort, it begins to decay. When people stop asking who pays next, civilization stops being a covenant and becomes a contract of convenience. That is the hidden balance sheet of history, and it never forgets its debts.
Every empire builds a machine, a system to fund its ambitions. Rome had its taxes, Spain had its silver, and the modern world has its debt. Debt is the engine of expansion. It fuels wars, economies, and dreams. But the machine has a flaw. It must always grow. The moment it stops, it collapses under its own weight. To pay old debts, new ones must be created. To keep the illusion alive, interest must never sleep. Governments borrow from the future. Corporations borrow from the present, and citizens borrow from themselves. And so the gears keep turning, faster, louder, hungrier. Until one day, the machine consumes the world it was built to serve. Debt, once a servant of progress, becomes its master. And empires fall, not with a bang, but with a balance sheet.
When money dies, the silence is louder than war. Markets vanish, savings turn to dust, and promises, the true currency of civilization, are broken. You can see it in every collapse. Rome, Weimar, Zimbabwe. Different names, same story. Inflation becomes madness. People rush to spend what is worthless before it becomes nothing. The baker raises his prices before sunrise. The worker demands more before the paycheck loses value. And trust, the invisible glue of society, crumbles. When money dies, law becomes barter. Morality becomes luxury, and power returns to those who still control real things: food, fuel, fear. Debt turns from paper to punishment, and every empire, no matter how advanced, returns to the oldest rule of all. Those who control survival control the world.
After every collapse, there is silence, and then, slowly, the sound of rebuilding. Debts are erased, currencies are reborn, and civilizations begin again, on the ashes of their own excess. The reset is not mercy, it is math, a reckoning written into the laws of nature, where every imbalance must one day be cleared. But in that clearing, there is also renewal. A chance to remember what money once meant: a tool, not a god, a servant, not a master. The ledger is wiped clean, but the memory remains. If we are wise, we rebuild with humility, anchored not in greed, but in gratitude. For every reset is both an ending and an invitation to write a better account of what it means.
History does not move in straight lines. It circles, like debt, like power, like memory. Every generation believes it has mastered the system, and every generation learns the same lesson. You cannot print trust, you cannot borrow time. The ledger never forgets. It records everything. The wars fought for profit, the dreams sold for credit, the civilizations that traded their souls for comfort. And yet, with every collapse, humanity begins again. We rise, we build, we believe. Maybe that is our greatest strength and our greatest flaw. Because in the end, the true wealth of civilization is not gold or debt or empire. It is wisdom and the courage to remember.